Yes, ma'am. Let's do it.
Saying intertwine on something.
We're good.
If you have anything to add, feel free. Okay. Facebook, this is a rare treat. I'm telling you. I was out with shoulder problems, and today I got a call from Steve Kader. Keep calling him Steven. I don't know why I'm doing that. And he said, I got some things I want to talk about with racism. And I said, let's do it. So we're here to chop up a topic. And I want to know where Steve Kader stands on many points about racism. Steve Kader, you know him from all over late night, all over the country, the world, doing comedy. He's done everything from hypnotism to late night. He's done it all. Go read his bio on MrSteveKader.com. But for right now, we're going to talk and chop up the topic that everybody likes to stay away from, except the brave people like Steve. Let's talk about racism, Steve. Do you have a little lead in that you want to say before we get into some of the questions about it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me, Linda, and thank you for everyone who takes the time to listen to this. And I'd like to preface what I'm about to say with, by no means am I an expert or anything, but I would just like to give you my perspective on it in hopes that perhaps it could create more harmony in the world and it could bring us together, because I do believe that we are unquestionably stronger together than we are apart.
Amen.
So
on that.
that's what my intentions are, not to take any political or any strong standpoint that's going to create any division whatsoever. So that's what my intention.
I so appreciate that stance. I'm so tired of divisions and opinions that divide us. I'm sick of it. Sick of it. Sick to, at a time like this, we ought to all be coming together to help one another, you would think. So the Black Lives Matter movement has been a hot topic. So what are your thoughts about the Black Lives Matter movement, Steve Kader?
My thoughts on the Black Lives Matter movement, I've applied the biggest rule in improv, and that's yes and. And I also wish that we could all apply that. Yes and. For example, Linda, tell me that Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Yes and. White lives matter. Yes and. All lives matter. Yes and. Blue lives matter.
Absolutely.
And people find themselves getting upset because the narrative that they may create when you disclude the fact that all lives matter. If you're saying all lives matter, you disclude the fact that Black lives matter, for example. And we need to start saying yes and when we speak out about this. Black lives matter, yes, and all lives matter. And this is one way that I look at it. Perhaps at this point in time, Black lives matter, minorities, man, the truth of it is perhaps they need our support just as much, if not more. This is the way that I look at it. And I'd like to illustrate it like this. If you're walking down the beach and you see a starfish right there in the sand, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to throw it into the water. Now, all marine life matters. All marine life matters. However, at that moment, that starfish's life mattered. Helping that starfish was the first thing on my mind, because that starfish was at the time what needed help the most.
Absolutely.
I love that thought. Thank you so much.
So
Now,
if we could adopt a yes and, yes
Wouldn't that-
and,
there's so much we can learn from improv, sidestepping arguments, validating each other, being patient. There are no wrong ways to go. That's I like that you take the improv lesson and apply it to discussions of racism that divide us. It shouldn't be dividing us. This is when we need to pull together, if any time.
absolutely.
Man alive. What are your exact thoughts about racism? Like
Well,
your
what I'm
thoughts.
say may sound somewhat absurd, but
Go for it.
please allow me to explain it. We as individuals, for the most part, are programmed to be, in a literal way, prejudiced. Yeah, there you go. I'll step outside of the frame and step back into it. As individuals, individual people in society, to an extent, we are programmed to be prejudiced. Sounds kind of crazy. There's going to be people that say, no, I'm not. I don't know what you mean. And here's the deal. It's a natural occurring process that happens every day when we encounter people in our lives. For example, like Linda, you are walking down the street in New York City, right? You're walking down the street in New York City, passing hundreds, if not thousands of people. Now, each of these people that you pass, unconsciously, you're going to put them into one of 5 groups, okay? Either a potential lover, either a potential friend, either a potential threat, either somebody that you could potentially learn from, or somebody that is completely indifferent, if that makes sense. You're indifferent to that person. The truth of it is, we are programmed by default to look at people indifferently, because quite frankly, you'd lose your mind if you were to walk down the street in New York, past 1,000 people, and look at each particular person. So the question remains, how is it that people stick out? The way that they stick out is if they do something that would demonstrate through their body language, something that's going to be, and this is things that we've been programmed from since we were little itty bitty kids. Programming exists. We can be programmed. Everyone can be programmed. And let me ask you this: if you bump your elbow, what do you say? What word do you say when you bump your elbow?
Ow.
Exactly. Is that something
If
that
anybody's
naturally comes
listening.
out? No, it's something that we learned. It's a program that we learn to say in response to something. Okay. Now, when we encounter people, we naturally put them into one of 5 groups. And like I said, right now, we're putting them in a default group unless they look, wow, that's a potential lover, potential friend, potential enemy, potential somebody that I could learn from, or an indifferent. That's how that we do it. In my opinion, racism is an aspect, racism, bigotry, homophobia, all that limiting belief, in my opinion, is part of a belief system.
I know that guy.
Stephen
He's
Pearl.
trouble. He's trouble.
Wow.
He's trouble.
Everything he tells you is the truth.
He's talking to you. He's telling you what to
Good
do.
to see you,
So he's
Stephen.
giving orders.
How are you, my man?
How you doing, man? How you doing?
I'm doing really good, my man. It's good to see. I'm glad you're up and well and still
Yeah.
smiling, man. I looking strong as ever, Mr. Pearl. I look forward
Strong
to working
like bull.
with you again, my friend.
I'm strong. I can throw a Buick over a building. It's amazing.
Yes, sir. And listen, and when I say to you, Mr. Pearl, have a heart, I want to say, hey, listen, man, congratulations on your recovery, brothers.
Thank you, my
Bottom
friend.
line is, you were definitely put here to keep the people laughing. Unquestionably,
my
that's
best.
your purpose. Unquestionably, that's your purpose.
I wish you the best, and I hope we'll be working together again soon, my friend.
You better believe it, young man. Like it or
Damn,
not.
I ain't going nowhere. They've been saying about that me for years, but you know how it is. But
All right, my friend.
I'll get out of your way, and good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, boss.
Stay well.
That's
Wow.
a cameo.
What a great fella. Very entertaining. And listen, I've learned a lot from that gentleman. I don't mind
Thse.
telling. Okay. So speaking of learning, here's the thing, Linda. By the time we're 12 years old, we've essentially built the foundation for the rest of our lives as far as our personality goes. Yes, I said it. By the time we're 12, as far as, you know, by the time we're 8, we've learned 16,000 words. Like by the time we're 20, we've learned 35,000 words. And that's the threshold of language, unless we try to learn other things. But the bottom line is, if you can learn something, you can unlearn something. And racism and bigotry and homophobia is not something that people are born. You're not born racist. You're not born afraid of gay people or lesbian. You're not. I mean, it's not something that occurs. It's something that you learn. And just as you can learn something, pardon me, you can unlearn something.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the deal. The way, how can we do it? We've got to take a hard look at ourselves and sit down and say, what are my belief systems? Are they your belief systems, or are they belief systems that you learned from your parents, that they learned from their parents? And literally, there's a big percentage of us that are operating on belief systems that aren't ours. They're literally our ancestors.
Yes.
That is what we are operating on. And
I remember when I was growing up, I'm sure everybody's been an object, and I want to get to that in a second about being an object of racism. But when I was growing up, I had a best friend. I was the shortest one in the class. She was the tallest. So she was like Amazon woman in 2nd grade, right? She was abnormally stood out as the tallest one ever in 2nd grade. And I remember my mother saying, can't you find a normal friend? And I thought, even as a 2nd grader, I thought, that is so far off the spectrum of nice. And it wasn't a race problem, but it was a hate problem. It was, I'm better than somebody else because of something. And I'm glad it happened in 2nd grade, because that made me question every time she had anything to say about any group of people. So in your life, have you been received and been a victim of racism coming at you, or been caught up in racist scenarios?
And in the military, well, first, before I answer that question, let me, I just want to make absolute certain that I want to fully explain what we'd mentioned.
Okay.
When you encounter people, you put them in one of 5 categories, and then you behave in accordance with criteria that you've pre-established. I'm going to treat somebody that could be a threat in this way. I'm going to treat somebody that could be a friend in this way. I'm going to treat somebody that could be a potential lover this way. I'm going to treat somebody that could be a potential professor, or somebody that can teach me this way. I'm going to treat this person indifferently. I'm not going to pay any attention to the person. Now, we are naturally prone to go toward the indifference, because let's be honest, like I said, if you walk by 1,000 people and you look at all of them, boom, okay, it's going to drive you crazy. Now, we all have friends that are more naturally prone to look at everybody as a potential lover. I have guy friends, I call him Pepe Le Pew, literally hitting on every girl that he sees. And we all know someone like that, right?
Yes.
And we all know people that look at a particular person as all the people that they see, they look at them as a threat, right?
Yes.
There's people that look at everyone as a potential friend, you know, and there's people like, to some extent myself, look at everyone as a potential teacher. Man, I try to learn from each and every person, because the homeless fella in front of Starbucks knows something that we don't know.
Absolutely.
So the question is to first of all, understand that we have a default mechanism built within us. And if you could learn something, you can unlearn something. And that's very, very important.
Okay.
As a hypnotherapist, I had a client in Los Angeles, and her father, she was a very successful musician. And her father would tell her from the time she was 8 till the time she was 18, sweetheart, the only way you're gonna make it in life and be a success is when you get home from work, if you feel, man, that was hard, I worked tired, I'm ready to eat and go to bed. That's the only way you're gonna be successful in life. Now, that message, the intention of that message unquestionably was to instill a work ethic within his daughter and give her a standard by which she had to achieve in order to feel that she was working hard. Now, here's the thing, Linda. She was a natural with music when she got knee deep in the biz. And for 10 years, she was told those things, but 2 years into her career, she didn't feel successful. And the reason why is because she was such a success and it never felt like work. When she got home, it never felt like, oh my gosh, wow, I worked hard. And it never felt like work to her. It never did, because it came so easy to her. So how is it that she had this limiting belief about herself that she learned from her father, and she applied that, and she never felt successful and never felt that she had achieved enough?
Wow.
So I'll tell you, man, it's really it's the attention that you put on it. If all of us could put more attention on how to bring each other together than how to divide each other, wow, that would be amazing.
Wouldn't it though?
Yes.
So that
You asked
you're
me if I'd been a
basic.
victim of racism at one point. Well, I remember as a young military police officer pulling up to a shooting at a nightclub in San Antonio, Texas, Fort Sam Houston. And we were there during the aftermath. The first responders were already there, and I'm walking up as an MP, and I have all my gear on, and I got my buddy next to me, and we're MPs, and we're walking in. Here we come to seize the day, And I remember there were a big group of civilian African-American gentlemen. And I remember walking by, and my partner walked in, and I stopped at the door where they were like, hey, man. I said, yes, sir. The guy was like, yo, dog. He's like, hey, man, have you ever heard of NWA?
Whoa.
So I took a step forward and said, fuck the police coming straight from the underground. A young brother got it back because I'm brown. What? And not the other color, so police think they have the authority to kill the minority. Yo, fuck that shit, because I ain't the one for a punk motherfucker with a badge and a gun to be beaten on. If thrown in jail, you can go toe to toe in the middle of the cell. Fucking with you because you're a teenager with a little bit of gold in the page. Search your brother down, grabbing his nuts. Hey, no. How you doing, bro? And they literally... And I think we probably pulled literally a couple solid witnesses out of that group.
Wow.
And yeah, and we always got our man. So
I was 24 years a banker, and when I was in Florida in the 80s, we got robbed, and it happened to be, I've been in 4 bank robberies. 3 of them were by white men.
Oh, goodness.
One
Were
of them,
you involved in any or no?
no, just I was usually the fastest teller, so they chose to come to my window.
Interesting.
So
Note to self, if I ever become a bank teller, be slow enough just to not get fired. Okay, tell me more about that.
So one of the robberies was a person of color that robbed us. And so everybody was afraid to do anything when he robbed. They just stood there and stared at him. But he had cased the joint and knew I was the friendliest and fastest. So he came to my window. And so fast forward, they needed to take it to court to prove he was the robber. But the police had messed up, and they had brought him back to the scene of the crime and asked all of us tellers if that was the robber. So they broke, it was going to get thrown out of court anyway, but I didn't know that at the time. So I was getting subpoenaed. I decided to move from Florida and live. I know it's a long story. I'm tired of talking about it already. So I'm living in Seattle and I get these subpoenas. We're going to go to court. You have to fly down. We're going to put you in a hotel. You have to witness against this person of color that robbed you. Now, this is in the deep South. So during the trial, they tried to corner me. You know, what kind of Black person? What is he? What color of Black? Was he good looking Black? And all those leading questions to try to get at how I felt about Black people. Like I was on trial and I wasn't on trial. So, you know, I'm a smart aleck. So I said, you guys can blindfold me. I'll find him by his voice. I don't need his. And I wish we could go through life not seeing color. I guess that's the point of the whole.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you this as somebody who's questioned several witnesses, probably similar to some instances that you've experienced. And I don't think that it's necessarily racism when they ask you to describe the individual, unless they're asking you leading questions like, so it was a Black guy, we're guessing, right? Hold on a second, John. It was a Black guy, right? You know, so. I mean,
they were like, was he good looking Black? You know, like that. Listen, you know, like was he Black? That's when I want to just break the rules of my oath and go, oh, was he Black? I didn't know. I don't see color.
But I hear you, but that's just for tell us everything you can about the guy. And they're also going to ask you the clothes he's wearing as well. So, but listen, I do want to get back to, as far as experienced racism, I just want to let you know that I would kind of made that funny story, and that was to no extent. I've been in foreign countries where I've been beaten up and had parts of my body broken because I was American. I've been jumped and beaten up because I was perhaps because I was a Caucasian, and you know, I mean, I have experienced the racism to an extent as well, obviously to nothing, and to the extent that it has changed me and made me a better person. It's helped me to unlearn. You have to unlearn some things about ourselves that we've learned.
How do you unlearn, and is that the cure to the disease of racism? Or are those two separate things?
I think that you can unlearn it, and I love the way that you put that, the dis-ease of racism, homophobia, bigotry, and quite frankly, because it's just my firm belief that if you're steadfastly feet planted in racism, bigotry, and something else that's going to create division, it's just really tough for me to think that you can really experience bliss and joy and happiness, because, you know, we're stronger together, and that's the bottom line. But there's a few things that we could do. If you're listening and you are a racist or a bigot and somebody that looks down on other people, and perhaps if you had this particular insight, you could try to be open-minded. First of all, be open-minded and allow yourself to connect and converse and exchange ideas with a person or an idea, which is something that's going to take you out of your comfort zone. And one thing that I've heard a long time ago, it's always good for us to have a friend that we completely disagree with this person. Like, this person's a cool person. They have a good heart, and but we completely disagree with them on a lot of issues. It's good to actually have those friends, and it kind of takes you out of your comfort zone when you're with them. But you want to know what? You're going to learn. And we just have to be open-minded, especially to the number one fact: the more different than someone is to us, the more that we can learn from them.
That's great.
That's just simply the bottom line. And I think that we are all put here to learn from each other, to love each other, and to bring out the best in each other. I believe that that's and that's how you can cure racism or any other form of limited part of your belief system, in my opinion. Because why is it limited? Because it's creating division. rather than
You're
we have
you're
a lot of
hypnotherapist.
the racism that we have is, for example, okay, racism is learned. We learned it from our parents, and like I said, we can unlearn that. And the way to unlearn it is just to be open-minded, knowing that we can learn from each other, and knowing that the more different than we are from each other, the more we're going to learn, and we're all different. So
You're a hypnotherapist. Can a person who is racist, like a real racist bigot, like somebody really bad, can they undergo hypnotherapy and come out different, change, cured?
wow, what an amazing question. I believe yes. And let me give you an example.
Okay.
I also dealt with a young lady who was deathly scared of broccoli. What? Step out of the frame. Back into it. And how did that happen? Because Linda, when she was 7 years old, she was playing hide and go seek in her grandparents' backyard. And there was a little old refrigerator, an old time refrigerator that was opened up, Frigidaire refrigerator. She got in it and the door shut. Okay. Literally, she was stuck in there for a while, working refrigerator. Okay. She was in there freezing and she saw a thing of broccoli. Okay. And it was a huge refrigerator. She saw a thing of broccoli. She associated the broccoli with the negative experience she had. Therefore, every time she saw broccoli, she freaked out.
Wow.
Yeah. If I were to say somebody has a phobia of broccoli, you'd be like, what? And the bottom line is simply the attachment that she made to the broccoli was negative. Now, what I had to do is I had to go in there and I had to twist some buttons, twist some knobs. You push buttons. You don't twist them, by the way. And just get on in there and give her the information of, hey, listen, by the way, this is actually something that's good for you, and something that's going to work for you.
I like that.
And it's and the way that it works is whenever we see people, we evaluate them. That's a natural survival skill because we have to pay attention to people that we encounter in our lives. And
yes,
the body language to a great extent is how we evaluate people that aren't talking. Okay.
Absolutely.
The caveman would approach each other. The type of body language they would use to let you know, hey, dude, I'm cool. I don't have a weapon. Let's do this. Let's be friends. You know what body language they would demonstrate? This one right here. What does this show? I'm letting you know everything. I don't have a weapon. I'm putting everything out there. Now, what if I come out on stage or whatever, or I approach your village, right? Or however you want to interpret this or apply it to life, and I have my hands in my pockets. What is that? Is that kind of scary? To
not
some
really.
people, if you do that at a traffic stop, if you approach somebody that's got their hands in their pocket, believe it or not, there's a part of you that's like, yo, dude, why are your hands in your pocket above and beyond trying to look cool? At a traffic stop, if you put your hands in your pocket, it might be the end of you. So we're naturally prone to evaluate body language. And a lot of the time, this is body language that goes way, way back to the caveman days.
Wow.
And there are some things that people think that they know about regarding body language. I know we're kind of getting away from there are some people that say, well, I was talking to him and his arms were crossed, so that means he was disinterested. No, perhaps he was simply cold. Or perhaps that is a coping mechanism. Perhaps something that you're saying is doing something to him, and his response is a coping mechanism that takes him to this place right here, because it's kind of a self-soothing thing, right? Essentially has not a whole lot to do with the other person, but that's what occurs, and we automatically, ouch, right? We automatically go on ahead and assume that the person is disinterested in us, and then we allow our behavior to be directed
So
on-
you're saying we make judgments all the time, walking down the street, we're judging whether they're going to be a friend, an enemy, a lover.
This is an unconscious thing. It's a survival thing when you're walking down the street. If you're walking down the street tonight and there's a person on the other side of the street walking, it's just you and that other person, unquestionably, you're going to evaluate that person. This happens whenever we walk into a room, whether you realize it or not. Your brain is processing everything within the realm of your vision, everything that you can see peripherally, everything you can hear, feel, smell, taste, touch, and feel emotionally. Your brain is processing all of that. Literally billions of bits of information every single second. It's amazing. Whenever you encounter people, and this goes back from the caveman days, you've got to, you unnaturally put them into one of five. This is Steve Kader stuff, right? You ought to put them in one of five categories generally.
Okay.
And if there are additional categories, I don't know. I'm sure that there are subcategories, but that's just my take on things. And so what I'm saying is the way that it works is whenever you do encounter somebody and catch yourself and say, how am I programmed to naturally respond to this person and say, yo, I'm not going to operate off the program that I've been handed down from my parents or their ancestors. I'm going to create my new program. I know that normally by default, I choose to look at these particular people because of the way that they look in this way. Allow yourself to be open-minded and choose a different default pattern. That's the bottom line. Now, you can say, yo, I want to learn from everyone that I meet. That's one way that you can do it. You can say, yo, I want to make love to everybody that I meet. You might get in trouble for that. You can say, I want to help everyone that I meet as a friend. That's going to be a good one. And then you can say, I can be indifferent to everyone that I encounter. And that's where we literally are by default. We're literally by default programmed to not give a shit about each other.
That's
The
so
only
true.
people that we're programmed to care about are the people that were in arm's reach of people that are within our comfort zone. That's the biggest thing.
So,
in my opinion.
So with regard to racism, let's just say for the purpose of the discussion, people of color versus white people. Very left brain thinking here. When all of everything popped off a while ago, I got to thinking, somebody made a comment that we white people couldn't take what the black people have endured for one day. I don't know who it was that said that. I think it was Sinbad. And I got to thinking, no, it was Alonzo Bowden said that. You white people couldn't take what we've had to endure for 400 years. You couldn't take it for a day. So I got to thinking, there's this, we're on this side, they're on this side, and we never meet in the middle. So I thought, okay, I'm going to challenge myself to pretend I have the luxury of pretending I'm black for a day. What is it like to be black in America for a day? And I literally, within an hour, I was bawling, crying, because I was looking at the world going, okay, education, is that fair? Do they have a fair shot at being educated in America? Do they have a fair shot at sending their kid to 7-Eleven and knowing for sure that child is coming back alive with a bottle of milk? Maybe not coming back at all. I mean, every which way you look at what it's like to be black in America, we don't experience it. We don't know what it is. And there's a divide because we're talking and we are perceived as not knowing what they're going through, have never gone through it. And yet we're talking about it like we know or have the right to talk about it. So there's always this division in between us, no matter how well-intentioned our thoughts are to try to give discussion to racism. We've never really been black. We've been treated other ways. My parents went through the Holocaust, but that's not being black. That's 8 years of suffering compared to 400.
Well, let me make a distinction if I could, just in my opinion. and this kind of supports what you're saying. There's people out there that have tried to apply to a job and they've experienced prejudice because they didn't know Excel computer spreadsheet. So that was an indication that they probably wouldn't be able to pass the certification course, enabling them to work there. They were essentially judged on not knowing a particular task and prejudging that the fact that they're probably not going to be proficient at the task.
Got it.
And that's just because of someone something that you either know or you don't know. So, however, for that to occur, as I think all of us have experienced what it's like to be discluded, what it's like to maybe be the last one picked. I think a lot of us have experienced being separated, maybe from a larger group because of a shirt that we were wearing, maybe because of friends that we hung out with. Well, if we're going to be honest, man, listen, imagine being discluded simply because of the way that you look. I've been told before that I was ugly and it hurt horribly. But quite frankly, having prejudice toward you because of a shirt that you're wearing and because of a car that you're driving or because of a particular belief, because let's be honest, prejudice is prejudging. If you make certain judgments about a particular group of people, if you do stereotypes, right? And that's something that occurs.
Exactly.
And I appreciate for him to have said that, because the real truth of it is that white people have not, to that, even close to that extent, experienced what, to my knowledge, I'll be honest with you, that what African Americans, because I know that we're speaking within that particular context, so I can understand, and all that I could hope is that hate a lot of the time is symptomatic of ignorance. Because if you don't love something, and let me give you an example. There was a time in my life, if a honeybee landed on me, bam, and now I have friends that are on Facebook that are so cool because now a wasp is different. How you doing? No, but my friends on Facebook will be literally covered with bees, okay? And not even, they won't get stung once because of the energy. That makes any sense. So Absolutely. You got to be aware. That's one thing that's important, is be aware of your energy. Be aware of your energy, be open-minded, learn to live with each other, learn from each other, and try to bring out
the best.
Try to bring out the best in each other. And whenever I hear a statement that shakes me, I always ask myself, what is it like from the person who is saying this? I try to imagine myself in their position. What would it be like? And quite frankly, I have to agree with you. I'm not happy with the way that, Black people were treated in America. Quite frankly, I think that things need to improve, and that's simply the truth of it. And, and it's going to take something. And like I say, that happens to be the starfish at the time. And that's just,
yes,
we need to come together and learn from each other,
Yes. I would love to be a part of a symposium where people from different groups all got together. I don't throw in some people from the rainbow, lesbians or gays or transgender or whatever, and different colors, brown, yellow, white, black, and all learn to communicate. It's a microcosm of the real world, and we're thrown from our protected family where we learn all of these prejudices out into the real world. And where do we actually get the preparation and the practice to get along with each other?
Yes, conflict resolution is something, unfortunately, that's not taught in school. But the bottom line is, so many different types of people in the world. We have to be open-minded and say, what can I learn from these people? It's almost kind of a cool opportunity to be able to learn from different people and to be open-minded. And you'll find that when you demonstrate open-mindedness and you are engaging with other people that you may have at one time been racist or homophobic toward, you're going to find how you can create positive connections, and the endorphins are going to go through the roof, because whereas there was a negative interaction before, because that's the way that things were triggered, now you've chosen the default mechanism is try to look at people as friends. Okay, that's one of the great out of the 5. That's a good one. To go from being indifferent to try to look at people as potential friends and people that you could potentially learn from. And then so many problems will solve themselves if we can come together and just be really careful the messages that we give to our children, because they're going to establish their belief systems and everything by the time they're 10 or 12 years old. And just make certain that everything that you say to them, because they're a sponge, especially parents, single parents, caregivers, teachers, nannies, babysitters, your responsibility is to give them knowledge that's going to serve them. So, yeah.
If we go, are you old enough to remember the Berlitz training program that you could sign up for if you're going to go to France? You find out all the customs of France before you go there, so you don't look like an idiot in France. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. I know that there were programs in other countries where they had that. They had one for Germany called the German Head Start. I think that's beautiful. Yes.
They need to have that for race. They need to have it for races. How was your experience for that? I never went through it. I just remembered hearing about that if before you go to France, you could learn what not to do and what to do. And they need to have Berlitz for racism. Like before you're gonna talk to somebody from India, maybe you ought to know the things not to say and the things to say. Like we don't know. Like I run into somebody and they're a taxi driver and they're from Bangladesh. I've got no clue where they're coming from. And I'm going to try to get along with people. I don't even, like we don't know anything about getting along. And like we always say, we know so little about the brain. We know so little about getting along with other people.
That's the truth. And engaging. So what's the first step in that is simply by being aware. Okay. Now, happiness comes and joy and bliss comes at a price. You can buy happiness. I say again, you can buy happiness. Step out of the screen. Ask me how.
How?
Folks, you can buy happiness simply by paying attention. Wow. Pay attention to the present moment. Pay attention to your children. Pay attention to your current state of mind, whatever it is, and always be constantly trying to direct it to a more desired state of mind. But by the same time, understanding and acknowledging the fact that when you're in an uncomfortable state of mind, that is when you're going to learn. So being in the moment, that is the first step in joy and happiness. And pay attention to each other. You don't get in car accidents when you're in the moment. You don't say stupid shit to each other that they remember, guys, how you doing, by the way, forever when you're in the moment. You generally don't. You look at something as essentially it is. The grass is not always greener. The molehill generally doesn't made out to be a mountain when you're in the moment.
Love that. Love that. Is there anything you want to discuss? Like, what's the future hold with the way things are right now? Do you see a bright future for solving racism?
Absolutely. The future is so gosh darn bright. It's going to be amazing. And here's the thing. All of us, Linda, all of us have graduated from the school of hard knocks as a result of what we've gone through thus far and will to continue to go through for who knows how long. The bottom line, all of us have learned, pardon the vernacular, a whole bunch. Where we may not be aware of it at this point, but later on down the road, we're going to recognize how we're more patient, we're more interactive, we're more hands-on, we're more in the moment, we're more appreciative, we're more graceful. And folks, if you want to be grateful, you got to be great. Yeah. Want to be grateful, you got to be great. That's my bumper sticker, Steve Kader, ... And people say, oh, Steve, you know, listen, John is never, ever gonna change. John will never change. Have you ever heard that one, Linda?
Always.
Okay, to the lady that may have said that at one point, sweetheart, nothing could be further than the truth. We are always in a constant state of changing. Some of us, the changes aren't obvious. We make slight changes when we experience certain things. Maybe certain things will happen to kind of kick us off as far as our standards, our beliefs, our values, and then certain things happen. There's changes that we're aware of and changes that we create ourselves. A lot of the time, something out of our control makes us do something within our control. Let me give you an example. Like people will not eat healthy because that's something that they don't want to change, but something out of their control, right? That some would exist, maybe a heart condition that would happen. That to a great extent, there are heart conditions that occur within people as a direct result of eating poorly. And when you change that, then the result is going to change. Sometimes people don't make the changes. They live on, I'm going to respond to life. I don't want to make changes myself. I want to respond to life and go with the flow and just do as the world comes to me. I'm going to respond and behave in whichever certain pre-described manner, and we're going to survive. But quite frankly, we live like robots. Literally 90% of what we do, Linda, is as a robot. Let me give you a quick example. When you get up in the morning, like think about it. Imagine yourself in the shower, and I'll be honest, I've imagined you in the shower. No, but imagine yourself. True story. Imagine yourself in the shower. You're washing yourself off with a bar of soap, right? I guarantee you do it the same way every time. Now, when you step out of the shower, I guarantee you reach for the towel with the same hand, dry off your body in the same manner, in the same order. Okay. Now, you also, when you get in your car, you also do the same, everything in the same order. And when you come to a red light, you do the same thing. And why? Because you've literally done it 20,000 times. You've taken 20 to 30,000 showers in your life, Linda, and your brain knows how to do that. And you know why they say you only use 10% of your brain? The reason why is because we're stuck in so many habits. We are stuck in so many habits that, okay, imagine your brain as a series of walking paths, right? So say there's 7 things that you do every day. Like you'll get up, you'll brush, you'll get up, your feet will hit the floor, you'll kick on your slippers, you'll brush your teeth, you'll check your email, you'll eat some breakfast, you'll go to the gym and work out, and then you'll go to the work. A lot of us will do those, obviously before everything that's going on, we would do those 6 or 7 things every day, or at least 5 days a week. And we have neural pathways that help guide us through those robotic experiences. In other words, there's a neuro pathway built here. It's almost a well-worn path because it's built as a result of so many different trips, so many times I've pulled out of the driveway, so many times there's a well-built path in here. I simply have to reflect on the well-built path, and then that's why it's so easy. I mean, you could literally daydream your way through driving, and you will drive across country, okay? Now, that's somewhat of a stretch. Because it's something that you've done so many times before. But, if you want to challenge your brain, do something. There's something that I refer to as do something different day. Brush your teeth with your opposite hand, because this is the way that it works, folks. Your left side of your brain is responsible for linear thinking. This is exactly where it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 12 times 2 is 24. Now your right brain operates on, to a great extent, hey man, let's look at this emotionally, man. Is it possible that 12 times 2 could be something else? You follow what I'm saying? So obviously the key is to have a culmination of both. Be in touch with your left brain and right brain. They say left brain is a man, right? Logical thinking, and right brain is a woman. She goes off emotion. Like I say, if you can have a little of both, then that's where it's probably going to work the best for you, because you have to, it's the yin and yang thing that exists. But so yes, and
Yes, and so racism, it can be, you can relearn if you've been programmed as a little kid that certain people you're to be afraid of them or dislike them, or you're better than another group. You can relearn that. You're not stuck with it just because it was handed to you.
Absolutely. Most certainly you are not. And simply put, racism is a belief system. And I'm not trying to make light of it. I know that it has, like another belief system, is that, something else part of that you may say is your belief system is that, man, I believe that red cars get pulled over more as far as cops are concerned. And we've all heard that, right?
Yes.
So, like I say, racism, bigotry, most of that it's learned from our environment when we're a child. That is my strong, and anything that you learn can be unlearned.
That's such hope. That's
and
hopeful.
the way that it is simply be just being honest with yourself and knowing that there is an area that you could improve. Expose yourself to the person you would otherwise have been racist or bigoted or homophobed toward, and try to find out, be open-minded and see if there are connections, because unquestionably, and this is something that I like to say at the beginning of a talk I would give. Folks, here's the bottom line. If you want to build a house, would you rather have a team of 7 people or a team of 87 people?
87.
There it is. Bottom line, we are all stronger together. That's something that you cannot deny. And like I've told you in the past, Linda,
I have no idea what you're doing.
like I've told you in the past,
Oh,
there's 88 keys on the piano. Each key has its own unique note, sound, frequency. Now, it's a well-known fact that the most beautiful songs in the world are those which incorporate all 88 keys. This is obviously not one of those songs, but let me say that there are roughly 8 billion people on the planet. Each person has his or her own unique sound or frequency. I refer to it as the purpose, passion, and potential. Imagine if we could all discover what our purpose, passion, and potential was, and we could all operate within our own note, sound, or frequency. And then we could all sing a song together. If we could all sing a song together within our own particular note, sound, frequency, purpose, passion, and potential, then perhaps, then and only then, we could finally live in harmony.
aw, I love that.
I love
That's-
you, Linda. I'm gonna end it at that.
Thank you, Steve. You put your whole heart into this. Thank
Most
you
certainly.
so.
Thank you so much, Linda. It was a pleasure, and I'll talk to you soon.
Please do. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.